All right, I guess that's it. I guess it's working now. Um, all right, let's give it just a couple more seconds. All right. Hello and welcome again to another episode of the Camerata podcast. And we are now successfully cruising through season 5. Ooh, I'm so excited. This is lovely. I have with me today. Oh, my name is Andres Marquez. I'm the host of the CamerataCast, as always. I have with me today an amazing metal punk crossover type musician, avid fan of the cinematic arts, and all around cool member of the creative community of Los Angeles and SoCal. Evan Whitford, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm a-okay. We were having some technical difficulties that you were you were quite privy to, being that we were trying to work through it together. But yeah, you know what? Today is a good day, and I'm happy to get to have this conversation with you today. So why don't we jump right into it? Pig Debris. Pig Debris is the name of your latest collection of recordings with Suspended in Cobwebs. It is available for pre-save. We will include. Actually, do I even have to include the link? This thing will be out like within a week and a half.
A week and a
Uh,
half? What? No, October 4th.
oh shoot! Oh okay.
We're still a little bit away.
Oh wow, I
Yeah.
totally misread the pre-save link then. Yeah, well, I will put the
Yeah.
link in the description, and y'all must pre-save Suspended in Cobwebs' newest piece of art. Um, I'm very tired. My apologies. Uh,
You're good.
but yeah, so I love the album cover. First thing I wanted to ask was, did you like edit that photo? Like, what is the album cover?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good place to start. So, it's this old historical photo. I saw it on the internet like years ago. It just like popped up on my like Facebook feed once. And, it's just that like if you like search up like Russian pig 1910s, you're probably gonna find it because it's like there's only so many. Um, it was shot during like I don't know that much about the photo, but that makes it kind of cooler. There's this big pig facade, and you see like Joseph Stalin kind of like in the corner, and I had that image and I did like a digital manipulation. Honestly, my graphic design skills are not exceptional. Like for previous releases with like Psycho Ward, we had the other Well uh, do the cover for Black Lagoon Ink and Grilled Cheese, and they were very excellent covers. Um, the Blister in the Sun cover,
Yeah.
I stole from a film. I like watched a
Oh.
film. I watched a film and was like, that would be a cool cover,
Mm-hmm.
and I like I guess found the film online and just like nabbed a screenshot of like this is the shot I want. Um,
If you don't mind me
and
asking, what film was that?
it was Zardoz by John Borman.
I have never heard of
It's
this.
by with Sean Connery. It's one of the craziest like '70s science fiction films. It's so it's so narratively just like chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to put it. Narratively chaotic. It's yeah, kind of oddball. John Borman is a he was very kind of innovative with films like Point Blank and Deliverance, but Zardoz, I guess, was kind of like there was a lot of expectation going behind that film, and I
Yeah.
guess it didn't do very well. And then it kind of grew a following later on once people like realized how batshit crazy it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like I remember I was watching it like Brain Dead Studios for the first time on Fairfax, and like I saw that shot, and I was like, that's kind of our cover. Like let's just go with that. Um, so with Big Debris, I had this photo like for a long time, and I used it as like the just whenever I needed like suspended in cobwebs art, it's just I always kind of came back to that pig photo. But
Mm-hmm.
like for a while, it wasn't like actually like what was the connection? And it's like, well, I'm gonna make it the connection by just making it the cover. As I had kind of two versions. One is like kind of a more symmetrical version. I don't know what I did, but it looks kind of cool. But like that's more of a banner, and the other is kind of like a filtered, um, manipulate. I think there's like a VHS screen like effect on it.
Oh.
Um, I think so. Yeah, I think I used it for Blister in the Sun too. But yeah, and I liked the pink textures. Brings out the pig themes that are kind of present.
That's another thing I was gonna ask. Again, haven't been able to hear the music yet, but I do want to ask what is the how would you say what was the songwriting process for you and the band for Pig Debris?
Um,
Oh yeah, go on.
I wrote all the songs. I'll just
Oh,
say that. Yeah.
nice, nice.
It was basically a process of like, yeah, me writing the songs and bringing them to other people to like learn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they all kind of had a different process. Like there was a period, I guess, during the pandemic where we're just stuck inside, and it's like I'm gonna crank out songs and just see. And I just made a lot of demos on at my house. Using like those Scarlet interfaces that like
Right,
connect
right.
via USB. Uh, yeah, so it's like, as preamps go, that is a pretty like digital gainy. You just got to make sure it doesn't hit red. That's all you got to
Mm-hmm.
do. Anyhow, it got songs produced. Um, and two of the songs, Salute and Pigs, not Pigs in a Blanket, Peninsula and Plagues,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of came from that stretch of like trying to just write material. Um, and those kind of ended up being my favorite. And those ended up making it to like the jump of like, just material I would teach the band to play live, and we had played live, and uh, the other songs were going to be Psych Award songs, uh, and then I switched my focus to Suspended in Cobwebs for more, I guess, flexibility on like what I can really accomplish is uh, I think it's more experimental than Psych Award ever got. Psych Award lives in a punk world where Suspended in Cobwebs is a little more like pushing that
Yeah.
envelope, I think.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Uh,
Go
yeah.
on. I was
Oh,
also
I was just
my
trying to
bad.
think. Sorry, I was
No,
just
no,
trying to
that's my
think.
bad. That's my bad.
I was trying to think of how to just adding on to like how was the songwriting process, because I wrote those songs in that session, that pandemic, like let's write as many songs as we can session. But Final Nail in the Coffin was originally like Psycho Ward trying to write thrash metal,
Mm-hmm.
and uh and if anyone saw us like play those songs at like the concerts we did, we they sounded pretty different. Like the sections were kind of reworked in the Suspended in Cobwebs version, and it was kind of like reborn in a
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Right.
Uh, and a similar thing goes for Pigs in a Blanket. I didn't intend for it to be a Psycho Ward song, and then we started playing it, and then it became apparent we weren't going to continue making Psycho Ward stuff. Um, and then I was like, well, I wanna release a good version of this song,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ended up being reborn as yeah.
Right, right. I was also going to ask, do you write most of the material or all the material for Suspended in Cobwebs?
It's honestly easier to just say that I don't write the drums. Like
Okay.
I give drummers pretty free range. I might be
Mm-hmm.
specific sometimes, but I've been fortunate enough to work with some pretty damn good drummers.
Right.
So if like if I trust you enough to like play drums for my songs, I'm very much like, yeah, try this, go for it. Just be, I'll say things like just be very chaotic. I'm not really a drummer. I took lessons when I was younger and didn't do very well.
Hmm.
You're a drummer, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the main thing that
Yeah.
I do musically.
Yeah, that's very sick because just the world needs more drummers.
You know what? I feel like that's the case. I feel like I know so many other musicians who are always looking for either a drummer or a bassist
Or a bassist.
or a
Yeah,
bassist. And it never
yeah.
feels like how do you say it? Never feels like guitarists are ever really in need. It feels like everybody has a guitarist or is a guitarist. Um
Yeah, it's just
No
guitar.
offense, no offense to guitarists, by the way. No offense. I'm not trying to say like that. That's like the found. How do you say? Again, very tired. I'm not trying to say like that's like your fundamentals musically. It's not like your ABCs when it comes to music. But
It's
yeah,
just that there's so many ways to twist a guitar, which is what has kind of made it a very popular instrument. The only one that's been able to really challenge it has been like the synthesizer, because it can sound, virtually endless, kind of like an electric guitar.
right, right.
Like it's But I mean, yeah, like same thing with electric guitar. You can also say the same thing for bass because it can be like processed and manipulated in countless ways. A drum set is mostly going to sound like a drum set.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can
That's
you can EQ it, compress it. You can even reverse the darn samples, but it's probably going to sound percussive and drum-like. um, but yeah, so I guess going back to your question, yeah, I write the guitar parts, I write the bass parts, I write the vocals, I write the lyrics. I write additional parts. It. Sometimes I invite musicians to work on my pieces, and then I'll give them some direction. But I believe they know their instrument better than I know the instrument that they're playing.
Mhm.
Like I'm recruiting them because I don't know how to do that. Um, uh, that being said, I recruited a guitar player from a band I really like in Los Angeles. I'm not going to say who it is so there'll be some surprise,
Right,
but
right.
when it comes out. But he's a very great acoustic guitar player, and I never felt like I was a great acoustic guitar player. And there's a lot of flavors on the music I'm working on that I want to implement, and I felt it would just be better to pass it to someone that's gonna kind of do that a little more justice than I could.
I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. I feel like how do you say? I feel like if you are in the position to be able to work with people who do stuff outside of your wheelhouse, then like I say go for it. Even if it's something that doesn't end up being recorded or something that you don't end up, putting out into the world, I feel like any kind of learning experience is a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, go on.
of course, there's obviously stuff that makes the cutting room floor. Like you're just
Yeah.
listening back, and you're like, "Oh, I can't use this."
Uh-huh.
Uh, no matter how much you love the person you're working with, sometimes you're like, "Darn, that performance wasn't it." But um, I had to do that kind of recently. Not going to name names, but
Mhm.
uh, but yeah, I mean, it happens. It's sometimes you just give it a shot, and it's like and sometimes you're able to rework things, and oh, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting them to kind of approach this section that way,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah, there's a lot of ways to take it.
Yeah, and another thing I was going to ask actually, how do you write music constantly or consistently? And if so, like
Ooh.
how much of that ends up being something you record, use, or even just like end up doing something or doing something with, like, oh, this is something that we warm up with as a band or whatnot.
Uh, I'm very much a quality over quantity person.
Hmm.
I've done, I took a songwriting class last year, and there were a bunch of assignments to just write music regardless.
Yeah.
And I got very sick of it because it's like, look, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to make us like, more, it's the whole idea of like you make 20 songs, maybe 15 of them are bad and 5 of them are good.
Right. Right.
And I don't really work like that just because the nature of what I want to achieve is like I want very like attention demanding music. Just
Hmm.
because I like attention demanding music. I've got a very rapid brain and, like a lot of ear candy. I like a lot of things to like. I like replayability in my records and I like to write material that's going to have a lot of replay value, I think. Um, and yeah, so I guess as far as darn, let me go back to the question. What's the question? Replay value. Uh, Remind me what the question was. I'm too off track.
Well, I was asking if you, how do you say? I was asking how consistently or
Oh yeah,
often you write music and how much of that
yeah.
you end up
Okay,
using.
so it's a lot of working on like the same pieces for a while. I take my time for sure. Which is kind of why which is why I mean, there's going to be a Suspended in Cobwebs album, but it's being rolled out in kind of this EP format, just so I can like really take my time with each piece and like give it the tender loving care it deserves. But that being said, I've also been trying to like push myself to just write stuff out of the blue and just come up with ideas. So there's always like an idea waste bin that could be revived like later on. I do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like this one riff on an upcoming like Suspended in Cobweb song, which was like one of the first riffs I ever wrote that was just like rewritten into a cooler riff. So um yeah, I mean, it's a whole lot of idea waste bin and then keeping like a few songs to like really like put your heart and soul into, but not everyone works like that. But that's how I've been working.
No, I dig that though. I feel like it's important to recognize when there's something that you would not feel particularly proud of if you happen to release it. Um, I feel like there's an how would you say? There's a specific sort of mindset that you have to really just be able to crank something out and put it out there and just be like, yeah, that's all it needs to be. And I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist for thinking that way, but I would say that there is a certain condition that I would prefer my music not be let into the world in. Um, and I don't necessarily think it's perfect. I just think it's like, I just don't want to feel like, oh, this isn't the best thing I could for it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you just like after a while, it's like I gotta decide when the music is done. It's like there's an endless amount of parts I could theoretically add, but like how much does it need until it's just like overblown
Hmm.
and uh and I think it was like the songs that I'll be releasing this October were pretty pushed in terms of like the different things I could add to like make it multidimensional.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think, yeah, I don't think there's really a wrong way to go about it, but I do agree with what you're saying in the end. That's how I would like to operate whenever I write stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't mind moving on for a sec, I did also want to ask. Again, we talked a little bit about film earlier, films that
Let's
ended
go
up.
for it.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah, yeah. I did want to ask, what are the highlights of your? um, what would you call it? Like how would you say? All I'm trying to ask is, what are the highlights of films that you've seen recently? Yeah, that's basically it.
Seen recently.
Yeah, recently.
Like, there's a few ways to twist that question. Like, good moments in films I've seen recently, or like good like experiences I've had related to films.
I'd say both. Like good
Both. Okay.
experiences with films, like actually watching them, and good experiences regarding the what lies outside of the actual film itself.
Hmm. Uh, it was a very good experience I had recently. I went to the New Beverly Cinema in yeah, Hollywood. Uh, and I was, I go there all the time, but I went recently, and they were, I went alone. It was a midnight showing of this Greg Araki film called Kaboom,
Oh,
uh, and it's Greg Araki was like a pioneering like new queer wave filmmaker from like the early '90s, and he still makes films today. I think he's working on a new film that sounds very funny. But he's done all sorts of very interesting films, and Kaboom was like the first one I saw, but it was very very interesting, and I want to see it in a theater, and yeah, it was very interesting because like there were a bunch of celebrities that like ended up showing up out of the blue, and uh, there were the main actor from the film Kaboom. I had a Thomas Decker, I think his name is. I hope I'm not butchering it on the air right now. Uh, but yeah, I ended up speaking to him after the film because it's like, yo, this movie's awesome. Like,
oh, that's
and
that's
he's
gnarly.
he's a huge fanboy of like the director he worked for. So it was a very very fun conversation. That kind of stood out to me as of recently. Just being in Los Angeles. Like after the pandemic, there was definitely like kind of a renaissance in like just the amazing things that have like that can happen in Los Angeles as far as like meeting people and seeing like rare films and rare prints of films and just magical moments. Magical moments do happen. Gotta be in the right place at the right time, but like it's very easy to like follow everything now. Like there's this I'm just gonna give them a shout out. There's this like Instagram account called like Revival Hub LA that it's just like a newsletter of like everything that's playing in Los Angeles, like
Yo,
every single day.
that's
And
gnarly.
it's none of that like multiplex cinema bullshit. It's all
Hmm.
like like the repertory screenings, the Q&As, the old stuff, the good stuff, just everything. Everything is happening, and so it really is just like if you know the right place to look, you know what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so I've been very fortunate to catch honestly like many of my favorite filmmakers like in person. I've spoken to the director of my favorite movie of all time. Like that was pretty recently.
Gnarly.
Yeah, like he was an absolute sweetheart. But yeah, it's like various filmmakers I've been able to meet, and yeah, I guess on the other side of that question, cinema is just I probably wouldn't have been doing music if it weren't for film coming first,
Hmm.
because like one of the movies that changed my life was Pink Floyd The Wall.
Oh, damn. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, like that was like, oh, like music can be narrative and this awesome. uh, like it was kind of like a new concept because like growing up, I thought music was just like the stuff they played on the radio, and like all metal was just screaming, and all rock, and then eventually I think I saw Wayne's World when I was young and got into Queen, and then kind of like old music. But like Pink Floyd The Wall was like, the idea of like a concept album kind of like blew my mind. And I think I very much try. I think of the music that I make as kind of like narrative, in the sense that like it should feel like you're going between like a bunch of edited scenes, kind of like how a film would be watched. Um.
Ooh, we are running out of time,
Oh
but
yeah.
I mean,
Uh.
we still got about 9 minutes. I just read the full
You
thing,
can
but
you can also start a new meeting and take
mhm,
it from there, since we
that's
started a
fair.
little late. Because yeah, they cap at about 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I will probably have to get going to work soon anyways after
Okay,
this,
for sure.
but yeah, keep I do want to hear more about this. I also just in case I forget later, I did want to know who was the director of your favorite movie and what
My
is
favorite
that
movie.
favorite movie?
It's Such a Beautiful Day is my favorite movie.
Oh.
Director's Don Hertzfeldt.
Oh, is that the
He's
depression one?
the depression one.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who just has this like kind of unnamed illness,
Hmm.
and you just kind of, you can presume it's cancer, you can presume it's
Oh.
like early dementia, you can presume it's a lot of things.
Hmm.
But, it's very much like this amplification through simplification idea that you have this like quite literal stick figure that just you just kind of like press everything like onto the stick figure, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just kind of he becomes like the ultimate character, just because like he is a blank slate kind of for anyone watching.
Hmm.
And like a lot of the stuff that he goes through is kind of traumatic and like awful, but he also kind of realizes like the beauty of like just being alive every day at what when he's like throttling towards the end.
Yeah.
Um so Don Hertzfeldt, he made the movie by releasing three consecutive short films, and then he like sandwiched them all together and then released them as like a DVD. And then he was told that it was a really good movie, and then he ended up like releasing it as a feature.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but he did a recent tour for promoting his new short film, which was absolutely stunning. Like it was like one of those films where it's like I'm crying, but I don't know why.
Hmm.
Like it's like this shouldn't have me just like sobbing in tears, but it did. Um, but yeah, so that new film was incredible. But yeah, he re-released "It's Such a Beautiful Day" with this film, and has been doing a bunch of like tours for like the promotion of both films. I guess the 12th anniversary of "It's Such a Beautiful Day" and the new film. I went to two screenings because favorite movie of all time,
Right.
and yeah, he was a very sweet guy, and very he works completely like independently, like
Uh-huh.
kind of outside of like just these massive like animation corporations, and meanwhile I think he's producing like the most sincere work on the planet. um
Yeah, that's typically how it's done. It's hard to do anything that's really, how would you say, it's hard to create anything that can be left close to your truest intention if you're dealing with moneyed interests and if you're dealing with large scale production companies that are trying to create something that is at the end of the day desirable and consumable by a mass audience.
it's bizarre because I believe it's possible to create like something really beautiful for a mass scale, but it's very, because they're like there's so many like major label albums that I can think of that it's like they do have this mass appeal, but I genuinely think like they're moving pieces of art.
Yeah.
um yeah, so it's like it's always about trying to find the balance, but yeah, like you said, you don't want to be like so kind of consumed over like, oh, other people have to like this. I need to appeal to the masses, because appealing to the masses means abiding by cliches. And usually in the form of music, it's like easy to sing choruses, easy to sing lyrics.
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
there's only so many chord progressions to choose from. There's only
Those
so many trapped hi-hats to
the,
add to your song.
the famous
And
four chord progression. Or just the 145.
145, the
Ah,
1564, the
ugh.
1645. Um, I mean, like, it's weird because there's so many great songs that use those progressions,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
like, there's there's something they're doing. There's something they're doing that's making them work more than the ones that don't work.
Hmm.
And in rock music, it's about like how you like paint, or how you like manipulate sound to like your taste.
Yeah.
Um, so like a good like 1564 song would be like "When I Come Around" by Green Day.
Hmm.
That's like a quintessential that progression, but it works because the bass line is fun, the lyrics are uh, relatable, the melody's good, the riff is great tone. It is like it's a classic.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, and like same thing with like I don't know uh like a 1645, like it's there's a lot of it's about the story you're telling, it's about the narrative you're painting with the lyrics, it's about the art of like making it your own.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right about that for sure. But I mean, not but you're just super right about that. I just wanted to say again, there is definitely a level of imposed simplicity that I feel comes more from above than from one's own creative. How would you say creative intuition when it comes to like that super produced, super popular music. Um, I don't know. I feel like we're definitely on the same page here, and I do love me a good pop song every now and then, a good pop punk song, a good popular uh, rap tune, whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I feel like I'm not too well versed in film, to be completely honest. So I feel like I'm only just learning the cliches that really um, tip off whether or not a film is playing it by the books, as it were.
It's yeah, I mean I've seen a good amount, but I haven't seen everything. But there's things to look for, just the way the story goes. Like do you I don't know, like how like does a film like when a movie ends, like do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you learned something? Do you feel
Hmm.
like it made you think about anything? Did it make you did you enjoy yourself and have the best time of your life? There's many different like takeaways that could a movie can play it by like this kind of screenplay archetype, and like we all have this vision of like what the screenplay archetype is, even if we
Yeah,
can't like describe it. um I don't know, like a movie like Billy Madison, like I think that follows the screenplay archetype. I think that is a wonderful movie because Adam Sandler has this excellent comedic timing, but it's not because he's telling this like moving story. It's a movie about yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean it all depends. I love Ingmar Bergman, and I love who's someone really silly. I don't know, like Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They had some pretty like silly movies. Like
Mhm.
even before South Park, like they did this film called Orgasmo, which was about like this Mormon turned porn star superhero.
That's fucking awesome.
Like you know, and you know what? Great film. I probably enjoyed it more than some Ingmar Bergman, but other Ingmar Bergman I liked more. Um,
Hmm.
you know, uh, it's a very very dynamic art form, kind of like music. All art forms are dynamic, but
Hmm.
there's something about cinema where it's like they can really just be like polar opposites, and I can love them all.
All right. Actually, I am going to make another session just for us to talk for a couple more minutes.
Oh,
I
cool.
will. We will be right back. Hey, hey, welcome back. Sorry for the interruption. We are doing this on Zoom now because Zencaster doesn't allow for free recordings anymore. Those bastards. In any case, we're going to wind down the podcast right about now. Evan, I just wanted to ask, in these final couple minutes we got, who are some folks in your local creative communities that you want to shout out? Be they film artists, musicians, any sort of person who's taken on a creative outlet.
Hmm. Uh, People that have taken on. I mean, I know so many artists, but I'll shout out my buddies in Iris. My friend, the front man of that band, is a good friend of mine. He did backing vocals on one of the Suspended and Cobweb songs that'll be
Oh,
out
nice,
in October.
nice.
And he just released this really cool song called "The Lantern." It's like black metal, but with these like kind of horn sounds. It was very very sick.
Hmm.
That comes to mind because that was really recent. I've got a buddy in this metalcore band. He's in a few actually. One's called Watership Down. They're from Tennessee, and the other is called Daedalus. Um, it's kind of it's like
Oh,
Daedalus.
like the electronic artists?
I don't think so.
Oh, we might be thinking of it. I might be thinking of
No,
a different.
no, this is like screamo.
Oh, okay. Then I'm thinking of a very different Daedalus.
Yeah, yeah, very much big friends of mine. And yeah, I mean, there's I need to remember because who I've like played with and who I want to like be like, oh, you should really like. um, I mean, film wise, just like artists I love,
Hmm.
like just does anyone in general, or like
Yeah,
should I
just
like know them? All right, so
yeah, just
yeah,
anybody, anybody.
okay. If we're just talking favorites, then yeah, I mean, filmmakers I love, deceased or not. I mean, my favorite Stanley Kubrick. I mentioned Don Hertzfeldt.
Hmm.
I love Terry Gilliam. I love Ingmar Bergman. I love Peter Greenaway. I love David Lynch, Paul Verhoeven, David Cronenberg. There's probably more. Harmony Korine, Alejandro Jodorowsky. Yeah, all those guys.
Okay.
Or Andrei Tarkovsky. The list does go on. John Waters. John Waters. Yeah. Those are kind of my favorite filmmakers. Yeah. Favorite musicians. Yeah, it's like My Chemical Romance, Queen,
Hmm.
David Bowie, Green Day, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, Cardiacs, Glassjaw, The Misfits, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Weezer, um, Ween, Jellyfish. Who else? I love The Paper Chase, Death,
Okay.
Paramore. Um, I'm just gonna pull up a list real quick. Yeah, Pink Floyd, Pink Floyd, Smashing Pumpkins, Black Sabbath, the Mars Volta, and At the Drive-In.
Damn, that is a lot
Yeah,
of influences.
the Beatles, Primus,
Hmm.
System of a Down. Yeah, like
Hell yeah,
music's
man.
great.
Hell
This
yeah.
is Corn. Yeah, surround yourself with good music.
All the time.
Um,
I'm just going to take this last couple minutes to shout out some cool folks in our local community, our local creative scenes, as it were. I want to give a big shout out to Birdcage Comics, dope little comic shop slash live music venue out in Riverside. They're super gnar. They've held everything from concerts to band camp kind of things, having bunch of folks learn how to play music and be in a band for the first time kind of thing. That one was hosted by Pork Boy, by the way. Big shout outs to Pork Boy. Love them. But yeah, check out Birdcage Comics. They support a whole bunch of amazing local zinesters and comic artists as well. They are in Riverside, but you could probably find their stuff online. Check out their Instagram, all that jazz. Yeah, just wanted to give them a big shout out.
Awesome. Yeah, they sound really cool.
Yeah, yeah. If you happen to, I don't know where you're at, but if you happen to be near there, I highly recommend checking out Birdcage. They're super dope little shop.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I live in Glendale myself.
Ooh, understood.
It's kind of yeah, it's kind of like I mean, I can go that direction, but I usually go the other direction,
Right,
more on the
right.
west side.
Yeah.
Because that's yeah, eventually you go to the beach, and then there's like all sorts of Hollywood in between.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of like that is my natural habitat, I think.
Understood. Yeah, yeah. Riverside
Yeah,
is a bit of a drive for me as well, but if I happen to be going out there for a show or for any reason, I like to. I'd like to. You know,
of
I,
course.
I, I
Yeah,
like making my stops, my rounds. Um,
I'll keep them in mind for sure.
yeah. Thank you again, Evan, for being on the cast. I appreciate getting to chat with you about, everything Evan Whitford. Again, everyone, please pre-save Pig Debris. We'll be putting the link in the description of this YouTube video. Um, yeah, yeah, and check out all the suspended in cobwebs slash psycho ward material, and check out all the films that Evan has so graciously recommended us. Yeah, I've been Andres Marquez, your host as always, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.